Hey guys, this is Yoda. Recently, Blizzard announced that there will be massive changes to what's being allowed in combat add-ons in the future. Firstly, you cannot see anyone else's anything. No abilities or cooldowns can be tracked. And incoming heals won't be trackable. You won't be able to track specialized buffs or debuffs. I'm not sure what they mean by this. It should be in the default UI, so hopefully they do that. Maybe we'll finally get a Maelstrom tracker for Stormbringer Enhanced Shaman. Rage. Same is true for tank swaps. You won't be able to see what debuffs your co-tank has, but they'll with like an add-on. But hopefully that should be in the default UI. Basically, is what they're saying. Also, it's a work in progress. Thank God, because the cooldown manager is complete trash right now. Won't be coming in 11.17 or 11.2. The goal is to improve WoW's native UI, narrowing the gap between what we have available now with add-ons and what is available without add-ons. So I am worried that basically, as a player who tracks pretty much everything, what they basically make available will not be nearly enough compared to what you're able to do now. So the game is going to be a lot harder. One thing that people are concerned with is that you won't be able to use your AoE stops anymore. That's not true. The script is still going to exist. Like everyone knows with the current meta, right? At this point, if you've been doing high keys, everyone knows if there's 3 casters, everyone kicks, and then you do grip beam, and then you do kick, stun, and silence, and you do kicks again. Everyone knows that, or at least if you watch my video, then you know that now. Into like an AoE stop rotation, going player by player, right? The script is still going to be there. You're still going to be able to follow the script. What you will not be able to do is react to players not following the script. So, for instance, let's say you play with a shaman, and this shaman, kicks out of order. Half of his kicks are just out of order. He kicks when he's not supposed to. He kicks when AoE stop is called. He kicks because he wants DR. He just kicks instantly when you reflect, whatever. You play with the shaman or whoever, and he just does this. So one of the things that is fun, in my opinion, in Mythic Plus, and differentiates a good player from a bad player, is your ability to adapt. It's like anyone can memorize a script and just read off of it, hopefully, at this point. But what differentiates people is their ability to change when things go off script. Like, oh, I know this guy's kicking purple, but he just randomly kicked for fun, so I have a single target stun. I'll stun purple when we call all kicks, so no one gets bolted in the head and dies. That is basically going to be completely undoable with the new system because, kicks are just going to be hidden. You won't see when people kick out of order. So when someone says all kicks, and someone doesn't have kick and doesn't say anything, someone's getting bolted in the head and is probably going to die in a high key. I'm not sure what their plan is with this. They did mention something about reducing the number of kicks required in packs as a result of this, but I don't really see that being a solution because we're not reducing the number of kicks that players have access to. We're just reducing their ability to see them that other people, like their allies, have. I would say at the minimum, a kick tracker should be added to the base UI, mainly because kicks don't really, the animation isn't that strong. Like you can't really see when someone actually uses their interrupt. Whereas maybe you could say, if someone uses Chaos Nova, it's a bit more noticeable, or Sigil of Silence, something like that. Hopefully, they do change that. We'll see. Hopefully they roll it back. Hopefully they backpedal. But it doesn't seem like they're going to, so, it's a good thing Fellowship is coming out soon, I guess. Another thing is you won't be able to see your allies' personal defensives, which, as someone who's played Prot Paladin and has played with Disc Priest for the last 2 seasons, that's going to be horrible. For instance, this one, for instance, let's say I'm watching this mob and it picks someone with its damage, and it picks a shaman 3 times in a row. How am I supposed to know which one he walled? Let's say we have shaman wall, my sack, and priest's PS, and if he gets picked 3 times, we can hopefully use one of these each time and he won't die. Unfortunately, with the new system, you won't be able to see which one he walls. You won't be able to see when we have PS, and you won't even be able to see your own sack, probably. So if you get picked twice in a row, probably, maybe if you get lucky, you get to have some DR on 2 of them, but for 3 in a row, you're just going to die on the 3rd one. There's no way that you're going to be able to figure that out, unless you're all in voice comms or something and you say, oh, I'll sack the next one on the shaman specifically for every single pack or something like that. Which, has happened in the past, but I'm not sure I'd trust every single group that to be able to be doing that without a UI, basically, essentially is what they're saying. So, hopefully they take a step back on that, but I don't think they're going to, so fortunately the game is just going to become a lot harder for no reason, I guess, in the future. Next, they were going to talk about private auras. Oh, they were talking about improving the cooldown manager. So, the in-game cooldown manager, I don't know if anyone's used it, is basically completely unusable. You can't move anything, you can't customize anything, and if that is their idea of something that's going to replace weak auras in OmniCD, well, not OmniCD is just being gone, I think. And they're hoping the in-game cooldown manager replaces class week auras. Well, I would say they've got a long way to go. Hopefully the version that they released alive is not anything real, and the real version is coming out sometime soon. Because looking at the live version of the cooldown manager does not inspire a lot of faith with Blizzard's ability to undertake this Herculean task that they've given themselves. Disarming the race between add-on and boss mechanics. So one thing I think that might be a good thing is that a lot of the mechanics that Blizzard has tried to give us players, particularly in the raid, is all solved by add-ons. So for instance, let's say you need to do a kick rotation on 3 different mobs. Well, you just write up an MDT note and put the mob's ID and its spell, and then write out players' names in a list, and the weak aura just tells you when to kick. So obviously that is, in my opinion, not ideal. This will definitely remove your ability to do that. There's another thing, for instance, on Mythic Farok, there was a mechanic where every player at random got an orange or a purple orb, and then you had to spread out in the room and soak orbs, basically, of the opposite color. But you couldn't pre-assign anything because the color orb you got was random. They tried to make this not solvable by an add-on by making the aura quote-unquote private, but that basically completely failed, and in response, all the add-on developers just made a macro where you just push it and you say my orb is red, and then once all the players push it, they had a list, and the add-on could solve the mechanic from there. That basically is going to be impossible, or so they say. I'm not sure they're actually going to outsmart the add-on devs this time, because so far they're like 0 for a million for trying to do that, but we'll see how it goes, I guess. I'm also a little bit concerned, basically, on the topic of this, like extra macros, that potentially they also won't be able to stop players from tracking each other's cooldowns, because what if I just make a macro that says use kick and then write in chat kick down for 15 seconds and then it just says 14, 13, 12 or whatever. And maybe an add-on could potentially parse that information from the chat box, who knows? Or maybe people will just start looking at the chat box for timers like they do in League of Legends. Who knows what's actually going to happen? But it seems like they are basically, first of all, their goal is to make the game harder because you can't see what your allies are doing. And you can't adapt, which is going to remove a lot of the fun from the game, in my opinion. Also, it's actually really hard for them to actually do this task because there's a lot of things that people use add-ons for that they're basically trying to make not possible anymore. And they're trying to say that they're going to make a base UI that is like basically making up for that. But based on the past, for instance, like we mentioned Stormbringer and Enhanced Shaman earlier, the very first time someone played Stormbringer and Enhanced Shaman on the beta, they said, oh, surely there should be an aura that tracks how much Maelstrom until the next Tempest. And here we are 2 seasons later. One of those seasons, Shaman was meta in M+, and the aura is still not there. So, they're basically saying, trust us, we're going to make the add-on, we're going to make the UI a lot better so you won't need these add-ons. But they can't even make the add-on, they can't even make the UI good enough like with the add-ons, from what I'm seeing. So we'll see, if they're actually able to pull it off. They did mention that they're going to give themselves a lot of time. It's not coming next season. It's coming like in the far future. Maybe it's a stretch goal. Maybe it's happening in like 3 expansions. Who knows? But they do have a lot of work ahead of them. And I really do hope they dial it back, at least on the interrupt thing. Not being able to see people's interrupts is just going to be really weird in Mythic Plus. So yeah, that's going to be my take on the situation. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.